Hello viewers, how are you? Hoping you are well. Welcome to my simple accounting channel. This is Uttam commonly known as Uttam sir. Today I have to teach you how to make the journal entries. What is journal entries? Journal entry actually means the recording procedure of the transaction. It's called the journal entries. But before doing that, you need to be known the double entry system or dual aspect. What is double entry system? Double entry system means every transaction there must have a debit as well as credit. Lot of transactions taking place every day in the business, but out of that transaction, two transactions is very important and frequently happening. One of the transaction is purchase and another transaction is sales. Purchase one of the expense item, so it is to be debited, and sales is one of the income item, always be credited. So sales and purchase can be done by four ways. Maybe in respect of purchase. Number one, cash purchase. Cash purchase means you are buying the product by cash. Here the purchase account is to be debited and cash account is to be credited. And when the purchase is done through the check, then purchase account is to be debited and bank account is to be credited. And sometimes you can purchase on credit. Whenever purchase on credit is done, then purchase account is to be debited and trade payable account is to be credited. Sometimes purchase on credit, but the name of the company is given. This time purchase account is to be debited and that company name is to be credited. This is the transaction of purchase. Now it is the sales transaction. Sales we know always be credited. Cash sale number one. Cash account debit, sales account credit. Sales by check. Here bank account is to be debited and sales account is to be credited. Sometimes sales is done according to the credit terms. If the credit sale is over there and company name is given, this time that company name is to be debited and sales account is to be credited. Sometimes you have to do the credit sales, but company's name is not given. This time trade receivable is to be debited and sales account is to be credited. This is the basic transaction and most of the students can do this correctly. But sometimes some of the transaction is exceptional. According to me, there are 10 types of transaction which is said as exceptional. You can follow this. Number one, returns inward. What is the journal entries for return inward? Return inwards mean some of the inventory which is already sold, but it is defective enough. The customer is returning to you. This is the return inward. So return inwards always be debited and returns outward always be credited. Remember that. Whenever you do the journal entries of returns inward, then returns inward is to be debited and trade receivable is to be credited. Whenever returns outward, outward means some of the goods you have bought, but it is defective enough, so you never take after that. So this is to be sent to the supplier. So this time returns inward is developed. So return outward is developed. Here trade payable account debit and returns outward is to be credited. Trade payable account is to be debited and return outward is to be credited. So this is the journal entries. Now number three, personal drawings. Maybe money is withdrawn from the bank for personal purpose. This time drawings account is to be debited, bank account is to be credited. And sometimes some of the money is withdrawn from the bank for business purpose. This time cash account is to be debited and bank account is to be credited. Again, sometimes it will be important transactions and very exceptional. Sometimes some of the inventory is taken by the business owners. What is the journal entries for that? So if this transaction is over there, most of the students is making wrong answer. So if the transaction is there, the journal entry will be drawings account debit, purchase account credit. Drawings account debit, purchase account credit. Remember that. Number 6, the bad debt. What is called bad debt? Bad debt, the amount of money which cannot be recovered from the customer. is said the bad debt. So bad debt is one of the expense. It is to be debited, and trade receivable is to be credited with the journal entries. And sometimes some of the transaction we see bad debt recover. What is called bad debt recover? Maybe once that bad debt it was bad, but right now you are getting money from that customer. That is the bad debt recover. It is happening. What is to happen? The journal is to be bank account debit, bad debt recovery account is to be credited. This is the journal entries for bad debt recover. Now, provision for doubtful debts. What is called provision for doubtful debts? Provision for doubtful debts mean some of the amount which is suspected not to recover in future. That is called the bad debt provision. So it is to be treated as an expense. So bad debt provision is to be debited and trade receivable is to be credited. Similarly, we have another transaction, provision for depreciation. What is called provision for depreciation? Depreciation means some of the using expenses of the non-current asset. So this transaction is like this. Journal entry is like this. Provision for depreciation account debited, and that particular asset for which you are making the provision, that non-current asset to be credited. So provision for depreciation account is to be debited, and that particular non-current asset is to be credited. And finally, we have some other transaction. Capital bought by the owners. Sometimes maybe if some of the capital is needed, so this and time the owners can bring some capital to the business. So this and time bank account is to be debited and owner's capital is to be credited. So this transaction is very important, because after your completion of education, then some of the interview you need to be faced. So this transaction is to be asked you by the interviewer. Since I am the professional accountant, I do know that. So that's all for today. If you are getting comfort with this video, then obviously make a like and share it to your friend circle. I obviously request you to subscribe my channel and press the bell icon so that you can get the latest video. Thanks for watching me and have a nice time. Bye bye.